Hi crafters, welcome to Paulette's Pretty Paper Crafts. For October 6, 2015, this is what I colored for Kathy Racusin's 6th day of the 30-day color challenge. And I want to just briefly explain this, if that's at all possible. I have filmed this several times and I don't know, I talk too much or I explain too much. So let's see if we can just maybe blitz through this. All right. If you buy from Stampin' Up! And if you saved this red rubber, you know, Stampin' Up! Die cuts their stamps. They send it to you this way. You have to assemble the stamps yourself. And for some reason, I just cannot throw these away. So I have saved little bits of them, and if you take some heavy-duty scissors, these are just some floral scissors I picked up at the $1 shop, you can just cut off a chunk where this spare rubber is, and you can draw an image. I'm also working on some nautical stamps as well, and I think those are going to be really fun. So here was just my try at cutting out a starfish. And I'm going to put him down there with my nautical things. So let's just briefly discuss this. All right, I've cut some scraps of wood. And what you're going to need to do is take some sandpaper and just knock off. I don't like the sharp edges of these. So I sand them just a little bit to knock the edge down. And then I'm going to take some glossy accents. And this one is a little bit stained because I had a pen in there and it rusted out a little bit. And I'm going to choose the uglier side of my block, and I am going to put glue on that side because that's the side I'm going to adhere my stamp to. And the reason I keep a pen in my glossy accents is so it doesn't clog up. There we go. And I'm not a waster, so I'm going to go ahead and use this rusty glossy accents. And I bought a new bottle for my nice stuff. So just spread this out with my finger. Just a nice even coat, and I'm taking whatever is the excess and just smearing it around on the sides here. And then lay that aside to dry. Once that dries, I'm taking my stamps and let's just go with this one. I thought this one looked like maybe a zucchini, and I've got a lot of sawdust in here. I can ink this with some StazOn. I'm not going to do that right now because I've tried to do that in the video and it just makes a mess. So ink this up with some StazOn. Then choose the side that doesn't have the glossy accents. And stamp with your stamp, your loose stamp, onto your wood block. That's how I got these images on here that perfectly match the stamp on the reverse side. I did that stamping before adhering my stamp to the block. Then remove this release paper because these are wood mounts, red rubber, and then adhere them to the block. Press down really well, and then you have a stamp. I like to write on my stamps. I like to write the day I created them and what they were for. This is for Kathy Rack 30-day challenge. And I put my initials on there because sometimes I take my stamps to a big, huge stamping thing where we all share each other's stuff. And then I can do some watercolor stamping. So let's just look at how to do some of these. Let's do this really simple one right here. I have been stamping on the rough side, so let's just go ahead and do that. And gosh, I've got all this, lots and lots of sawdust. The idea is that you're going to take your lightest color and put that on first. So we're going with yellow. Then we're going to fill the rest of the pumpkin, the meaty part of the pumpkin, in with this orange. Doesn't have to be neat. Then I'm just going to take some red and outline the pumpkin and then draw those curved lines in here. Then I'm going to take some water off camera and spritz that, and it's very, very moist. And actually, let's take this smaller piece of watercolor and we'll just stamp that down. Now give it time to let the water soak in, just like you would if you were using any other stamp that you already had and you were doing some kind of watercolory spritzing technique. And there we have a pumpkin. In the meantime, I did make a leaf stamp as well. So I'm going to take this lighter green and just scribble that ink on. And then we'll take this little bit of a darker green and outline. And those inner lines really aren't going to make any difference, but I'm going to do it anyway. Put a little spritz, stamp that on, give it a few seconds to soak in, really rock my stamp. And there we have a great leaf. So let's do that again. And you can see just how fast and furious this is. Another big spritz. And let it soak into the paper and really give it some good pressure. And there we go. Now I've got some sawdust in there. So I'm going to scrape that off. We don't want to see that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and draw in some marks in here. Okay, you can even do some lovely curly Q business. And let's go ahead and draw in some ground here. And then we can start diluting a little bit. I'm just going to dilute that a little bit. Let's go ahead and dilute these, because I just really like it best when it's very watercolor-like. Okay. And I've got some green on there. That's okay. I'm just going to go ahead. I thought I might rinse that off, but I'm going to go ahead and just dilute this down here. And let's go ahead and rinse that. I've lost my paper towel somewhere in the craziness. Let's see. Let's take some of this orange. And I've lost a little bit of my, which I guess that would still be green, but I'm going to paint it brown. And you can just do whatever you want. And I'm going to go ahead and wet that. The reds don't dilute as much as everything else does, as the other lighter colors do. But I really don't want that to dilute much anyway. So that's pretty wet right now. So once it dries, then you can just outline with the fine point Sharpie marker, and you end up with these really I think they're cool. This one I even painted a background. I outlined everything with a purple, and it got to mixing with some of the brown, and it made a gray in some areas. I just really like it. Then you can stick that on a card or stick it on a gift tag. I just think it's cool. So let's see if we can hurry this up a little bit. I don't have my heat tool right here. I don't have it plugged in. It is close to me. But I'm trying to make this video as short as possible. I do have a fan blowing right behind me as well. I think that's dry enough for us to start on. Let's start on the leaves, and you can be just as flamboyant as you want because that color is already down. And you know, it's that cool thing where the brain goes ahead and pieces it all together. Which is a really cool thing as well. Isn't it cool that your brain will do that? Will piece it all together. So let's do all these little curly bits. And then let's go ahead and draw in and there are no two leaves or no two gourds in nature that are just alike. And you can just scribble in some ground and add some little dots. You can even add dots up here if you want. And usually I go ahead and just do all of those lines, and you can just doodle to your heart's content. And then don't forget to sign your work in some way. Maybe we probably should have had a little bit more. A little bit more grass in there. I like to have a little bit of messy business down around some of that. It gives me a place to hide my signature. So anyway, just really cool. I just love it. So if you have any questions, be sure and let me know.